Thank you very much for the invitation. Here, I wanted to present our group recent work to use diffusion map-based approach to fuse multimodal brain connectivity network and use them for active prediction. So first, I will describe the background of this project, and then I will describe the diffusion map-based approach. After this, I will apply the diffusion map-based network analysis to the active predictions. We know the brain is characterized as a complex network. Therefore, we can use a graph to represent the brain. At each node, it represents a region of interest, and the edges between two nodes represent the functional connectivity. The functional connectivity is a matter of how ROIs interact with each other. And we can use them to study the brain development or use them for the diagnosis of mental disorders. So assuming we have P ROIs, then we will have P multiplied by P plus 1/2 functional connectivities. For example, if P equals 264, and then we will have 34,716 functional connectivities. Before we apply the functional connectivity analysis, we need to perform feature selections because the number of subjects is usually small when compared with the high-dimensional brain functional connectivity network. And also there was a study showing that the brain networks are mainly driven by a small subset of unknown parameters. Based on this observation, there are many ways to perform the dimension reduction or feature selection. Here we will introduce the diffusion map-based approach, which turns out to be a very effective way to uncover the high-dimensional information. And furthermore, we wanted to combine multiple networks in order to take advantage of complementary information from different modalities. So this is the general way to estimate the functional connectivity network. Letter F to represent our fMRI time series consisting of M number of time points corresponding to P number of ROIs. We can use a graphical lasso or other approach to estimate the precision matrix F, where the C is a sample covariance matrix, and the lambda is a tuning parameter determined by Bayesian information criteria. Once we estimate S, we can calculate the semi-positive definite matrix R, which is used to represent the brain network. This is the general framework for the analysis. We start with fMRI time series. Using graphical lasso, we can estimate the connectivity matrix between different ROIs. We name this as semi-positive definite matrix. we can run this procedure for all the subjects to compute the functional connectivity matrix R. Then, for all the subjects, we can compute the connectivity network. We can use a Gaussian kernel to compute a W, which I will introduce in the next slide. So this W will reflect the interconnections between different individuals or different subjects. Then we can use machine learning, such as diffusion map, to extract significant information from this population network. In other words, we can project this population network into an embedding space to extract significant subnets and use this subnet as input to a classifier such as SVM in order to divide the population into different groups, such as different IQ group. I will describe how to perform Gaussian kernel function and also diffusion map for dimension reduction, both for a single modality and two modalities, and also discuss briefly about the parameter selection. So here is the way to compute the W matrix, where each element in the W matrix measures the connections between subject I and J. So we use a Gaussian kernel here to represent the connection between a pair of subjects. The D is the distance to measure the distance between two STM matrix, Ri and Rj. So there are three ways that we can use to define the distance. So the first one is a log Euclidean distance, which is based on the SVD decomposition of the semi-positive matrix R. And we take the log of the diagonal matrix of eigenvalue matrix. The other one is based on the Euclidean distance and also velocity distance. For the diffusion map, the idea is to map the data points R from the original space into a low-dimensional space T. So using the diffusion map, we can calculate the distance Ri and between Ri and Rj when they fall into a manifold to measure their yaw distance, geometric distance. So in low-dimensional embedding space, this geometric distance is equivalent to the Euclidean distance. Those are the three procedures perform the diffusion map. First, we normalize the Gaussian kernel, where Q is the diagonal matrix, which is the sum of each row. Once we normalize the matrix, we can perform eigen decomposition. So using this eigen decomposition, we can project the point R from the original space into a lower dimensional embedding space by using both the eigenvalue and eigenvectors aside. So in the eigen decomposition, we can sort the eigenvalue from the largest to the smallest. We can discard the least significant eigenvalues and the corresponding eigenvectors. This way, we can perform dimension reduction. We can further extend this approach to two modalities or two data sets, given two data sets, R1 and R2, corresponding to two modalities. And for each modality, we can calculate their normalized kernel, K1 and K2. Then we can use our unified kernel to fuse the information between K1 and K2. After this, we can define the alternating diffusion distance using the following formula. With this diffusion distance between two modalities, we can compute the new kernel matrix W tutor to reflect the connections between different subjects, and also the normalized K tutor matrix followed by eigen decomposition. Using the eigen decomposition, we can map the two data points corresponding to two modalities into a lower dimensional embedding space with a new dimension D tutor. So this procedure is our proposed alternating diffusion map. Using this approach, we can combine the information from the two connectivity matrix corresponding to two modalities. There are also other ways to combine the information from the two modalities. For example, we can simply vectorize the connectivity matrix R1 and R2, and then concatenate them into a single vector followed by diffusion map. We can also use kernel product, kernel sum, and kernel dot product to combine the information contained in two modalities, followed by diffusion map. We will compare these different approaches when performing the diffusion map based classification. There are two key parameters in the construction of the diffusion map. The first one is the selection of the kernel bandwidth, the sigma. If sigma is too small, we are unable to capture the local structure around the data points. On the other hand, if sigma is too big, we will have a redundant description of the data. This is similar to the selection of the dimension of the embedding space D. If D is too small, the important features are collapsed into the same dimension. Or if D is too large, the mapping can be too noisy or even unstable. So we use the following grid search procedure to select sigma and D. We know sigma is the maximum distance between two data points, and we use the parameter C as a scaling factor, and C is taken to be within this range, and D is taken to be this range. And we optimize sigma and D according to the subsequent classification accuracy during the tenfold cross validation. Now I will show the application of this method to the IQ prediction. We test our approach on the Philadelphia Neurodevelopmental Cohort study, or PNC study. For the PNC study, we have multimodal or multi-paradigm fMRI data fMRI sequences. First, we do pre-processing using SPM to make a motion correction and perform a normalization and smoothing. So after this, we run our data fusion approach to make IQ predictions. So for the PNC data sets, we also perform brain tessellation using the power template to divide the brain into 264 regions or ROIs. There we test two test fMRIs, including the resting state and embedded test fMRI. And we divide 224 subjects into high IQ or low IQ group according to their wide range achievement testing, or WRT score. The WRT is a measure of an individual's learning ability, such as reading recognition, spelling, and math computations. There are also other ways to measure the IQ. First, we do a statistical analysis of the brain functional connectivity between these two groups. So because of the brain tessellation, we have 264 ROIs, which give 34,716 connections. We first transform these correlations to this call, followed by a simple t-test. Using the t-test, we select 350 strongest connections. Using these connections, we identify 14 functional cyber networks, which shows significant between cyber network connections. And we found a majority of the connections was involved in frontal parietal control, default mode, and visual cyber networks. This is agreement with previous findings. Now, let's look at our diffusion map-based approach to make predictions. So this is our general framework that we introduced before. For the first experiment, we simply vectorize the functional connectivity matrix without performing feature selection. The second experiment and the third and fourth experiment, we use 3 different distance metrics to construct the Gaussian kernel, followed by diffusion map, and then use the features expected by diffusion map as the input to the SVM classifier. Here is the result. So you can see without diffusion map-based dimension reduction using the resting state fMRI and in-back memory fMRI, we only achieve about 66.72 and 70.78% of the accuracy. However, using the diffusion map-based approach, we can significantly increase the classification accuracy. And furthermore, using the log Euclidean distance, we can get the better accuracy because the log Euclidean distance can reveal the geometry of the manifold. Furthermore, we wanted to combine the two modality and see whether the combination of the two modality data sets using alternating diffusion map can further improve the result. So here is our procedure. So we construct the functional connectivity matrix based on each task of fMRI time series. And after that, we use our alternating diffusion map to extract the significant network information from the two modalities. Here, the kernel K can fuse the information from both resting state and test fMRI data. We also compare our alternating diffusion map approach with the three other kernel-based fusion approach. So here is the result. You can see using our alternating diffusion map-based approach and also using the log Euclidean distance, we can get the best result. And this accuracy is even higher than using the single modality. This demonstrates by using alternating diffusion map, we can combine the information from the two data sets, which can give a better result. If we do not perform any dimension reduction, the accuracy was only about 69.11%. And also among this four fusion approach, you can see the alternating diffusion map is better than using the three other kernel-based fusion approach. So for the selection of the kernel bandwidth sigma and also the embedding dimension D, we can use the cross validation. You can see if we pick the target dimension to be 40, and we can get the best accuracy. And between dimension 20 and 50, the difference is actually not quite significant. On the left one, it is for the in-back memory fMRI task. On the right one, it is a classification accuracy using both the resting state and in-back fMRI tasks. So in summary, here we propose a diffusion map-based approach for learning the important features from the brain connectivity network, and using this nonlinear manifold learning, we can combine the information from the two different data modalities, which can reduce the noise for each modality, while extract the common information from the both modality. And also, when we test this approach on the prediction of IQ, we found the alternative diffusion map can give the best result or best accuracy in making prediction of our individual's learning ability. The major reason is using this nonlinear dimension reduction, we can extract essential information from the brain connectivity network, resulting in better prediction. So this work was mainly performed by my postdoc, Dr. Li Xiao. You can check his paper in the first publication. And recently, we further extended this work to the multi-view diffusion map, and also use this approach to make a prediction of fluid intelligence. And the work was conducted by Dr. Guixia Pan, and you can check this paper for further information. Finally, I would like to thank my collaborators from 3 other institutes and also the funding agency of both the NIH and NSF for their financial support. Thank you very much for your attention.